Good evening, Washington, D.C., Facebook, Instagram, whoever's watching. My name is Earl Rush, and I am the host of the Straight Up Talk Show with Tanya J. Smith and Earl Rush. This evening we have special guests Irving and Martha Figuera. With such a special edition, I had to bring on my play niece, Tanya Smith. Let's see if we can catch up with her. Tanya, are you there?
Girl, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your very hectic schedule to join me for this edition. We're going to get straight to the point because I'm sure you're very busy and you have a lot of things to do.
Well, I'm honored, girl, as always.
And believe it or not, I have other things to do. You think that I'm bored with the stupid stuff I put on Facebook, but I have things I have to do as well. So let's see if we can catch up with Martha and Irving.
Okay.
First of all, I met them, I'd say about 10 years ago from the fabulous and famous Cat Arias. She had me MC one of her shows, and Martha and them were performing. And we've kept a friendship since then. They're very nice people, a great couple. I love them. Very nice people, and we're going to bring them on.
I'm excited. Let's do it.
Martha, Irving, how are you?
Doing good. How are you two?
So great to have you both.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'm excited, and we're excited.
Yes.
So we're going to, like I said, we're going to go in chronological order as we spoke about earlier. But first of all, I have to talk about our sponsors. The sponsors for this portion, the portion of the show is sponsored by Motion Envy.
Mateo.
Woo-hoo!
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Copa Style Magazine.
All right.
Ritmo Caribe Promotions Radio.
Okay.
And, oh, wow, I don't have the picture. But also brought to you by Mr. Mambo.
Hey, where's my picture, Earl?
You're so big, honey. We don't need a graphic. You know,
you're right.
I messed up anyway. Okay, enough about all the crazy stuff. So, Martha and Irving, Martha, you go first since you're a lady. You know, I'm old-fashioned. What is your heritage?
Well, my parents are both Ecuadorian, one from the capital and one from the coast, and they both raised me here in Virginia.
Yeah, and I am Mexican American. My parents, my mom was born in Mexico. My dad was born in Los Angeles, but raised in Mexico.
Okay.
They're both Mexican.
All right. So, when you guys were young, were you bad kids? Were you a bad kid, Martha, or were you a good kid?
Oh man.
I don't think so. Like the kind of trouble I got into, Irving laughs at me. Like I had one of these trundle beds, right? The mattress on top, there's drawers on the bottom. When it was like lights out time and I wasn't done with the book, I would pull the drawers out, sneak behind them, pull them behind me, and then like read back there. That way, like no one could see the light, and I wouldn't get in trouble. And then I got in trouble because my mom knew that was the kind of like trouble I was getting into, is like reading past my bedtime.
Okay.
So I was a pretty tame kid.
What about you, Irving?
I hope my parents aren't watching this because they know the answer to this one. I would say, as an adult, I look back and I say that I was a good kid, but I was always grounded, always.
Okay.
I got into a decent amount of trouble, I guess. I didn't learn. I got sent to a military boot camp when I was a kid to get my act together.
Okay.
Tanya's face, she went.
Come back together.
Okay. Well, thank you for that answer, because as I always say, one of my goals is to learn something new about somebody. And I definitely learned something new about you, military boot camp. Okay. Tanya, the floor is yours.
So I'd like to ask first, Martha. I see all your fabulous pictures and posts about your adventures as an equestrian. Tell us about that. That's so fascinating to me. When did you start? You seem to be fairly still young. So how did that come about? How were you supported with your parents with that? What is your passion about that? The competitions. Tell us about that.
I began horseback riding 17 years ago.
Wow.
It was my first love. My first introduction to dance and having partners were four-legged dance partners. Big switch, by the way, because when you're a rider, you're the lead.
I'm
And your
sure.
partners will follow. And dance, I was like, wait a second, this is backwards. So it's different. But I basically kept up with it until college, and the finances weren't really there. And I thought to myself, all right, I need a new outlet that doesn't require nearly as much resources. And so salsa rueda, like azúcar at George Mason, was that first taste. I was like, oh, okay. Here I can do something and I can make it fit my school schedule. I can make it fit, my studying. And that's how I kind of went away from horses and into dance. But Irving, I think, was the first one to recognize it pretty quickly, is that I missed it. I missed it a lot. And so eventually I did come back to it. And it was like I never left. It's like riding a bicycle. It just kind of comes back. And more recently, and the reason you see like more photos and like posts about it is that I'm working from home. And so my schedule is a little more flexible and I can get out there a little more often.
Awesome. Irving, I'd like to ask you, it appears from the posts, and this is the beauty of Facebook, we get to know about people even when we haven't talked to them. If we get to see different things, different aspects of people if they share. And it appears you've made a transition career-wise, and you now are a business owner. Tell us all about that.
Oh, it was probably the most terrifying thing that I've done. So it gave me a whole newfound respect for and for all the business owners in my life, friends or family.
You, Lee, Kat.
Now I'm just beginning to understand the amount of hard work that goes into this, and the level of bravery that it takes to do this. For me, it wasn't much of a choice for me. Like, I kind of had to do it. I've been trying to figure out where I fit in within the world of IT. And I used to work for a company where I took a phone call with an older gentleman, and my job was to help this older gentleman learn how to use video teleconferencing for the first time. Okay. And we did a practice video call, and I finally got him on the phone. I finally got him on video, and he could see me. And I was like, all right, sir, well, this is how the system's going to work. And he's like, wow, I can see you. And I was like, yes, sir. Yeah, I can see you as well. I'm glad that we can get you on. He's like, no. I can see you. You don't get this. This is the first time ever in my life that I've done a video call, and you helped me do this. Thank you so much. And I try to continue. I was like, oh, no problem, sir. This is what we're here for. I'm happy to help. I'm happy I could, be of service. And then he continued on to say, can I use this to call my daughter? And then that's where my heart sunk, because I had to tell him, unfortunately, the software was built specifically to communicate with the company that he was, connecting with. He couldn't really use it to connect with his family. And I had to break that news to him. And then on top of that, because of this contract I was in, I couldn't really offer him while we can't do it with this software, I'm happy to connect with you offline and show you, connect you with your daughter. I couldn't do that, and it broke my heart. So I got off the phone with the gentleman, and I immediately went into Martha's office, and I told her, I'm like, I don't know that I can continue doing this. This is
Turning people away.
turning people down, not being able to help them that way that I want to. And thankfully I have a beautiful and loving sugar mama. She told me, she's like, if it's bothering you that much, make the jump. I can support the both of us. Make the jump. And that's what I did.
Wow.
So what is the jump? So what's you're self-employed. What do you do?
Yes. So I started this company called Go Tech Buddy. Our website is www.gotechbuddy.com.
Let me write it down. I might need some help.
Exactly as how it sounds. Go Tech Buddy. And what we do is I'm trying to tap into the residential market for IT support. So trying to make my company be that go-to name if anyone's ever having issues at home with their computers or with their Wi-Fi, or
so you're like mobile support. You're like mobile support. You go to them. Is that what you mean? Like you go to them?
Yeah, I could do. So the beautiful thing is that I can do both. A lot of our services can be done remotely. So we just install software on the user's computer and on the fly, if they're having an issue with a website or something's not functioning correctly, we remote into their computer and resolve the issue. And then for those that can't be resolved remotely, we visit the client's home, wearing the appropriate PPE to make sure that we're staying safe and keeping them safe from during COVID times.
Okay.
So we travel as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I wish I should have called you earlier today because I don't know whether you can tell, but I'm having problems with this broadcast right here. Did you guys see what I was?
Me too, Earl. It's okay. I call him like 4 times a day because I get stuck. I need help. I don't know how to update my phone. I can't find the right app. So I'm like, Irving, they're helping me. It's okay.
I mean, from my screen, we all went out.
No, you don't. From my screen, you're the only one who went out.
From my screen, everybody went out. But luckily, I could see that you guys were still talking on the phone because on my phone. So that was good. So let's hope we can move on. Okay. So you guys are great bachata dancers, but it seems like you guys are kind of like, even though Kat taught you guys things and other instructors like Alyssa Cruz have taught you guys moves, you seem like natural dancers. Was there a lot of Latin music when you were growing up in your household?
I guess Martha just tagged me, so I'll start off first. I guess the joke that my dad always loves to tell is that he'll tell me, he say, mijo. He's like, I got to be honest with you. Out of my 2 sons, I never would have thought that you would have been a dancer. He's like, as a kid, you had no rhythm, so I didn't see it. But my parents are divorced, and my dad lives in Arizona. My mom lives in California. I was born and raised in California, but I would go to visit my dad almost every other summer. And that side of the family is oh my God, it's so much fun. There's always any kind of reason to throw a party. We'd throw a party, and the whole family would get together, and there'd be music, food, drinks. Obviously not for me because I'm a kid, but I would try my best to dance, and apparently it wasn't the best. But I didn't really get into actual structured dancing, taking classes until I joined the military, got stationed out here in Maryland, and found dance classes.
Okay.
I was the opposite. First of all, bachata was not really something played a lot in my house. Like I shouldn't say bachata wasn't played. I should say very limited bachata was played. Like there was definitely a cassette in the minivan that played only Juan Luis Guerra. Like that's what I understood as bachata. I was like, oh, that's bachata. And that would play all the time. So I had those songs memorized. But as far as like dancing it as like a family, that wasn't really a thing. We were a big like cumbia family. Like cumbia was our jam, salsa. But even though they played those things at like house parties or at like New Year's, I didn't like dancing with people. So I would hide or pretend that like my stomach hurt. I need to go sit down or let me go walk the dog real quick and not come back for like an hour. I didn't want to dance with anybody. I didn't want anybody to ask me to dance. And I was like that for like quinceañeras, weddings. Like it was like, where's Martha? Not on the dance floor at all. I just didn't want to be dancing in front of people.
Okay. All right. So when you were younger, Irving, did you play any sports? Were you into sports at all?
I loved sports. I was never a fan of watching sports because my mentality was always like, I was very active. So if I could play the sport, I'd rather play the sport than watch someone else do it for me. So I dabbled in karate. I dabbled in baseball. I dabbled in football. I dabbled in soccer. A little bit of boxing. Lots of sports.
Okay. All
Cross
right.
country. Yeah.
Okay. So Martha, you didn't have any training. You didn't take any dance classes when you were growing up, and you were playing around. You were playing around with horses. Did you do anything else? What else did you do for fun when you were young?
I was playing around with horses, and I fit the stereotype. Horse girls hang out with horses. They don't hang out with people. But there was a point where, like at some point in high school, I realized, I'm not really meeting people at my own school because I'm a barn rat. I'm always the barn. And I did join softball. And I loved softball. I wasn't that great, but I loved the game and I like baseball. If anything, I was kind of annoyed. Like, why can't we have a girls' baseball team? Like the baseball were more fun. It was more fun to watch, but like we had softball. And I did that, but high school sports are really time consuming. Like they put kids on the bus at 4 p.m. and you don't get home till like 10 p.m. and then you got to start homework.
Right.
And that killed me. I barely kept up. I had no idea it was gonna be such a time commitment. So I did it for like 2 years. I liked it, but it didn't really stick.
Okay. Miss Smith?
So I know you said you wanted to do chronological order, but I kind of wanted to jump to something. Is that okay? Uncle Earl?
Of course. You have to go chronological order. I have to because I'm kind of slow, but you're a little bit more advanced. Do whatever you want, young lady. You already jumped the gun when you asked him about the business. I was going to ask him that till late. So go ahead. This show is your show. We don't have no order for you.
I'm sorry. So, I noticed like Ferocity. I have such great admiration for Kat and for all of her dance teams. And one of the things that stands out to me when I watch those performances, besides the fact that she seems to get a diverse group of people to be able to just have so much sabor, so much attitude, so much, you know what the word is? Confidence.
Yeah.
And they got, and of course that's supplemented by her obvious training, training to make sure that people do display themselves in a way that's, that's aesthetically pleasing. But the biggest thing, and you two represented the most, although all of her people have it, that I noticed, everybody has such fierce expressions. I know she says she has this catch line about fierceness, but you guys, you two, it's like fierce and then passionate at the same time. And obviously, you're a couple. I can say that because you're married. So this is not a secret. You're a couple. There we go. You're married. To what degree does your relationship inform the expression on the stage versus the training? Because Kat obviously is playing a part of this, because I see Juan, I don't know the names of everybody, but I just see these expressions and I'm like, oh my gosh, she must be teaching just one whole semester on expressions. And it's awesome because it jumps out at the stage. So what piece of your performance, which you two are always so dynamic together when I see you together, and even when you're with different partners, but it seems to be very smoldering, very passionate, very, ooh la la, very like, I'm going to burst from so much passion and love and
oh my gosh,
sexiness. So what piece does your relationship play into that? Or is it also just some serious black magic from Kat that she's imbuing her team with?
Black magic is a good word for it, because I have a hard time explaining this one to people, because the assumption is like, oh, that's just like built in because you're in a relationship. Like, that must just be natural. Y'all just want to like eat each other up and be
all
passionate.
the time.
And like, that wasn't really the reality. Kat played a huge part in teaching us to be comfortable with displaying those kinds of feelings. Like, it wasn't that we didn't have them, or that they didn't occur naturally, but there is a level of, it's vulnerable to let people see that part of your relationship. It's super intimate. And I think maybe more me than him would be like, wait, I don't know if I want people to like see my feelings like that. Like, you should. And you said it already. It's the confidence. Kat really trains the confidence to be okay with people seeing that in you, that it's going to be okay to open up in that way. And it's a skill. I mean, you have to practice it. And she definitely mentored us into being able to do that. Because it's not, you don't wake up and then you're like, I'm just really passionate. And
I see it with the men as well. I don't even see it just with the women. I see it with the men in her group. So that's why I figured it's not just the relationship dynamic. It has to be something she's bringing to the table, because that's the one thing that really pulls me into her performances. And usually I'm always about, other things first, but I'm always like, oh my God, the looks on their faces, like, this is the most important thing in the world. Like, wow, it's awesome. It's awesome.
She has a keen eye for when you can do more too. I think that was always really something that stood out to me, is there would be a day or something in rehearsal where I'm like, that was my best effort. That's me being passionate, and she can see where your limit is, and could easily be like, you got a little more in there. You're not really letting out. I can feel it. There's like and I'm like, dang it, how'd she know? Okay, now I gotta go, bring it a little more, for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Okay. So, Tanya, we're following the same format as always, honey. 2 and 2.
Okay.
That was your first, so you have another one.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I get another one. Okay. Awesome. Cool. Let's see. So I would like to talk about when I first met you guys, and I do believe it was the first time I came across you. I don't even think we met, but my eye was drawn to your dance. It was at a club that Lee and Earl were promoting on 7th Street, across from Lucky Strike. What was that club? It had an upstairs and downstairs, Earl. Legal.
No. You know I'm old. It's a well-named restaurant though. I forgot the name of it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, so I remember. I can pinpoint when I first discovered you two. because normally bachata is really not, it's on my radar a lot more, but back then it certainly was not on my radar. However, that night, I think his name, I don't want to mispronounce it, Joan Soriano, he had a concert and you guys were there. And he was so amazing, from the musicianship, and you guys were dancing afterwards, so I was like, wow, this bachata stuff it has a lot of musicianship that I just didn't like, the guitar aesthetic. I kind of didn't even know that before. So that's the first thing that I was like, wow, there's some music that I might really like from bachata. And then you two were dancing. It was like this little ring-like floor. And I was like, oh my God, this is such a gorgeous couple. And their dance aesthetic was really wonderful. And so I had always pegged you guys. At some point I met you. I think I did come up to both of you and say I thought you were amazing. But then at some point, I remember maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I started seeing you guys dance salsa. And I had in my mind, because that's my limitation, I'm a salsero. I'm a mambo person. And I may dance bachata, but my heart belongs, my soul belongs to salsa mambo. So I assumed with bachateros who express themselves as passionately, you guys were the same. And then I think Irving came up to a Mr. Mambo's and asked me to dance on too. And then I start seeing you guys and I find out you're dancing with Jalissa. How did that come about? Was it just because of the proximity, because you're training with Kat and Jalissa was also in that studio? Was it an actual thing where you said, you know what, I now want to learn salsa? How did that come about?
I guess Martha tagged me for this one.
I didn't want to have the mic.
For me, I guess I get this. I surprise a lot of people with this answer, but when people ask me like, "Oh, is bachata your first love?" or what do you love more? I think I actually have to go and say I think I just a smidge more. I love salsa more. I grew up listening to salsa music, merengue, cumbia, as a lot of Latino households in the U.S. So salsa, the music, was something I grew up on and was in love with. When I came out here to the East Coast, I had just found out about bachata. And because it was new to me, I decided to look up a bachata dance class. And in diving into bachata dance class, I made friends and then just was vacuumed into the bachata world. And because I got so busy, it just became like a snowball effect. I never got the chance to really explore salsa. Julissa, I guess for me, salsa was something in my back of my mind. I'm like, I at some point I want to take more time to study it, to practice it, to learn it. And I think it's probably that same way for Martha.
Mine was a little different. I got a little scared of salsa. Oh my God, I had a horrible experience in New York that definitely set me back in like my confidence of trying it. Like Rueda at George Mason was one thing, and everyone, it's a university, everyone's really friendly. The bachata community was very friendly, welcoming. So I just kind of assumed that's how everything was going to be. I was wrong, and Irving got invited, I think through a friend, to a party up in New York. I'd never been dancing in New York, and he invited me to go with him. We were boyfriend and girlfriend, and I was like, yeah, I'll go. I go, and it's salsa playing. And I remember a guy came over, asked me to dance, and he was like, and my answer was, and the minute I responded like that, he was like, he danced with me like it was the most miserable thing he'd ever had to do. And I didn't know what I was doing. At that point, rhythmically, I only knew on one because that's what I had been exposed to growing up. And he just looked like it was the most, tedious thing he'd been stuck doing the whole evening. And when that song was done, I sat down and was like, I don't want anybody. Like, I don't know what this means. And if I answer it wrong, I'm going to piss someone off. Like, I don't, I'll just sit. And, you know, from there, really the only other exposure I was getting to like a salsa place, because I was also underage, right? So like I wasn't hitting up clubs. I could go to like a handful of parties. The only other place was really Mr. Mambo's, where I would see salsa dancers. And they were so next level that I was like, oh, I'm definitely not going in there. Like I'm not even going to walk in there. My more recent like adventuring towards like training with Latin Vintage really started 2 years ago. I had seen Julissa at her own event because Frosty went down to perform in Richmond. And I really liked the teaching style. I loved her flavor of salsa. I thought it was earthy. I thought it was really organic. It was like the right flavor. When she moved up and I saw advertisements for the intensives, I was like, okay, Martha, like sink or swim time. You're going to either learn it and really enjoy it, or you're going to learn it and you'll never try it again. And so I signed up for an intensive and kind of went from there.
Okay.
Me, I actually, my first time really taking, I guess, consistent salsa training was actually with Yamule DC. I joined Yamule DC for a little bit. And
the neon. So the neon.
They had
outfit.
a neon outfit at this time for their upcoming performances, and I learned the entire routine, having really never taken a dance class. I guess I really relied more on just general dance technique I had learned over time through CAT. But I just plowed my way through trying to learn a salsa routine, and I did it. I learned the routine, and I guess last minute, we had a lot of things that picked up for us within bachata and competitions that were coming up that we had to prepare for. So I had to pull out of doing the performance. So I never actually got to perform the routine.
That costume's in the closet somewhere, Maria. I'm sorry. We can wear it around the house, but it's never actually been on stage.
So that was my first experience. My dance partner was Heather Pham for that class. Yeah. So it was fun. And then after that, I told myself I need to go back and do it again at some point. Yeah.
Awesome. You there, Earl? So Earl's not there yet. Okay. Let me just tell you, Martha, I'm glad you persevered. A lot of people have I call it the baptism of fire or by fire in New York. And, you know, it either makes you or breaks you. And I'm glad that you decided to still stick with it. And I think things have changed in New York. It used to be, you know, so things have changed.
I have actually not been back since that social.
You need to go back. I mean, it is tough, but
not for salsa. Not for salsa.
Yeah,
I went back for. He's saying I went up to New York for a bachata social. I did, but I've never been back and then gone to like a salsa event ever. So that's on the list for someday.
Yeah, definitely. You want to. It'll ultimately it'll be rewarding, but they can be a little tough on us out of towners, and so you know, it happens.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys something. Is the sound breaking up on your computer?
No. You can call gotechbuddy.com and see if we can assist you with a sound check.
Okay. So, you guys trained with Julissa, and you did some training with Yamule. But who was the first person who broke it down to you with a light bulb? when the light bulb went off in your head, and you said, "Oh, that's what it is." I need you to tell the viewers who that was.
Yeah. Well, there was someone who had a lot of mercy.
Handsome gentleman.
Yeah.
Handsome.
And
I was afraid to take a lesson with him because I was like, he's going to show off and steal Martha away from me. Oh.
Earl Rush at DCBX. I don't know what, caused you to want to be so generous with us with your time, because those events are busy and you had to probably be in a million places, but you were like, let me just break it down for you guys, and pulled us aside and explained like the very basis of why there's on 1 and why there's on 2. Neither of us knew that.
Entire private lesson.
And we ended up in a ballroom that hadn't been set up for anything specifically. And we did a little private lesson where I remember learning like how to turn to the right, turn to the left. And once he got us like there, he was like, all right, okay, I think we're gonna stop there. Like, he'd gotten us so we wouldn't go, into the next room and like drown. But you had a lot of patience with us that day. We remember.
Well, it was my pleasure, but I knew you reminded me of an old Palladium dancer just by the way you moved. Okay. And I told Tanya, I said, you know what? That young lady, Martha Figuera, she gonna be bad one day.
He did.
And then you got with Yulissa, and the rest is history. But I knew that you were going to be a great mom. I even told you that you would be very good at on TV.
Earl, you did do that. I would be like at Lucky Strikes, dance like 7 bachata straight. There'd be a salsa. I find Earl, ask to dance Earl, and at the end of the dance, Earl would be like, just give it a little while. You're gonna want to learn some on 2. Just give it a little while. I feel it. You're gonna want it. You just like wait a little. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. And eventually, I got to go learn it.
Okay, so this interview is about you and Irving, but we can't have a whole interview and not talk about Cat Arias. So how did you guys meet Cat Arias?
He can go first because he gets dibs and getting to meet her first.
So I had, like I said, I was active duty military. I joined I searched up bachata classes in the area. I found a gentleman named Julio. I believe he may or may not still teach in the area, but he was teaching bachata classes and salsa classes. So I started taking bachata classes with him, became really good friends with him, and then found out about we were hosting a after class social, to which Teresa Widener, if you're watching, what's up? Teresa Widener joined us at our after class social, and I met her. I loved her dancing. I was like, oh my God, she's so much fun to dance with. And I knew that there was a upcoming bachata competition at a local restaurant in the area. So I asked Teresa if she would like to compete with me in this competition. And Teresa, of course, said yes. And she met up with me at the restaurant to compete. And, she brought along her friend. And I guess what I love about this story is that
the friend was Kat.
She brought along her friend, and I was like, well, I'm Irving, nice to meet you. She's like, well, I'm Kat, nice to meet you. And we sat down, and the competition went in rounds. It was like, 5 rounds of nonstop dancing. And Teresa and I went out there, and we tried to, we did our thing. And I'm brand new to bachata, ish. I'm still brand spanking new to competing in bachata. So what does Kat do? She does what she does naturally. Is we had barely just made introductions, and she immediately goes into. She's like, all right, you're not giving it enough heart. I need you to feel the music. She's coaching me immediately, and it was funny. It wasn't like I didn't react like, "Who are you?" It was like as if I took to Kat kind of like as if she's always been my coach. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. I think I can do that. I think I can do it. Yeah. All right, let me go do that. So there's some embarrassing video out there floating around of me trying to play the music. And that was my first time meeting Kat. And there's something about her that I just really liked. I connected with her. Okay. So it wasn't too long after that I ended up joining a dance team that she was co-teaching co-directing.
Okay.
I met Kat while she was co-directing Dance to Beat, and their practices were at Nova at the Northern Virginia Community College in Annandale. And so I went there because someone had told me, you know, there's a team that has practices. You should check it out. I don't know if you'd like that. And so I went, and that's really where I met Kat. But it's like, I know it was like a really long time ago, but it doesn't really feel like it. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. I don't have as many like early memories with Kat, because for me it like developed with time. Where Irving, like, that was his coach day one, and
it's like Kat and I became like best friends overnight. Like after that competition, I think we exchanged phone numbers, something like that. And
oh my God,
I lived all the way in Maryland, and all this stuff was happening in Virginia. And because I think like a lot of dancers that find out about dancing and are hooked, I was going out dancing 7 days a week. Not even kidding, 7 days a week. I was going if there was a social somewhere, I would go, and I would stay until it closed. Like, you had to kick me out. And then I would drive home at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and it's an hour drive back home. And I get home at like 5 in the morning. I sleep for an hour or two, and then wake up and do my military stuff, which was terrible. Kat was like just texting me to make sure I'd stay awake on the road, or I'd text her like, "Hey, I was falling asleep, so I pulled over at a gas station. I'm going to take a nap at this gas station for a little bit, and then get back on the road." That's how
basically, thanks to Kat, like,
I'm alive.
He survived long enough to then date me, because he would have been in some car accident somewhere after late night dancing or something.
Okay. All right. Well, you're up next, Tanya.
So I'd like to, if a lot of people may not know, but DC is very proud of both of you, not just in bachata, in the Latin dance community, because you guys have become world champions. You guys have become fierce competitors. You stand out. You're striking out on your own. I'd like to know about how you drifted, if you drifted, or if it was with purpose, how you got into the competitor realm and what that involved in terms of training, and give us just a little snippet of the awards that you guys have won.
Well, I'll make a clear differentiation, like our original competitions versus like what they eventually turned into, and then you can take it. The competitions that like were local clubs and like restaurants, and where you like met Teresa and things like that, those are always local, and we kind of always somehow ended up gravitating to doing those things. We did Clarendon Grill, that was a competition, and we loved those. But the international stuff, that is a totally different world.
I guess I'll take it from there. The competition thing with Ferocity, I would go into TSR, and TSR used to play on their screen, wall monitors, wall TVs that they had, a lot of competitions from World Latin Dance Cup or World Salsa Summit, and I would see those dancers, and I'd be like, "Whoa, that's never do that. That's crazy." But I think, and I would see those things, and it just started to get in my head. For me, there's never been something I've been like, amazing at, or natural at, or like, I guess that I felt like I not only, studied it, but continued it and took off in it. I never felt that with anything until dance. Dance started to feel like I just couldn't get enough of it. And when I saw the competitions on TSR's TVs, I one day, sat down with Kat in her office, and I told her, "Hey, Kat, it'd be I'm like, don't laugh at me. This is,
Crazy.
I'm like, this is crazy. So don't laugh at me." But a dream of mine, has always been, or recently has been, that one day, I'll get to compete, on a stage like the World Line Dance Cup or something. So it's crazy. It's something it's just a dream. And she looked at me like this whole time I'm telling her, I'm like, and I'm just like nervous because I'm sharing something that's very personal to me, and this whole time she's listening, she's just like this, just blank face, like. And when I finished, she's like, "Okay, so." I was like, "What?" She's like, "When are we doing it?" I was like, "What are you?" No, that was you. Sorry, I mean, you missed the part where I said that was just a dream. That was a crazy dream that I was like, "No, let's do it." And I was like, I'm not ready.
It's not dreams with Cat Arias. It's when do we get started? How do we get started? Let's go. Like. And she was just, it wasn't even like, well, let's think about it. No.
So there was no, like, as soon as that just came out of my mouth, there's no backing down. She was like, you have this dream, we're going to grind, we're going to make it happen. And lots of grinding, lots of money invested, lots of training, lots of hours, lots of sacrifice, dedication, time. But we finally did it. We went to the World Dance Cup. No, we went to Urason for our first competition, wasn't it?
No, technically there was like Pittsburgh.
No, that was in between. We've been to a list of competitions that we've lost track. But we started like locally, or I guess I should say like nationally, and then the first time we went overseas was definitely Otoson. Kat's gonna fact check us on this one.
Yeah, you're gonna see later. She's like, these are all out of order.
Kat, let it be on record that I said Otoson was our first dance competition, because I believe from there, then afterwards was Worldland Dance Cup. Date-wise,
I think Pittsburgh was before.
Well, anyways, we competed at Urason, and I think for me that I went there with the expectation, like, for me the dream was just being on the stage. If I can get on the stage, if they'll accept me onto the stage, to me, I made it. I don't care about winning or losing. I made it. I did it. I did what I saw on TV on TSR's TVs, and I did it. And we went out there, and Martha and I competed as a couple, and we were terrified because God, these damn Mexicans, they're so damn talented.
Listen, I've never felt more spoiled. I never felt more spoiled than in Mexico because, I got to a point, I'll admit it, I had become like a floor snob, right? Like I got to the point where I'd get to a place and be like, all right, I brought 2 pairs of shoes. Let me use these pairs of shoes because this floor is kind of so-so. And then I have my backup pair of shoes that were like the nice dance shoes. Like that's the level of like pickiness I had about dance floors, right? You go there and they're practicing aerials on the tile, on the concrete, on the sidewalk, on the brick. And, I was like, oh, they're not going to actually throw her because we're walking to register. Like they're just marking it, right? They're just doing the counts. And then, they're just like, da, 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 da. And it's on cement. There's no mats. And I thought, oh my gosh, folks here are so hardcore. It's just a whole different world.
And we went to Mexico. We hadn't even qualified. We were going to go there ahead of time and just hope to qualify. And if we qualified, then we get to continue to the actual competition. So we went there. Martha and I competed in the qualifier against all these crazy talented dancers, couples. I remember Martha and I and Kat because they were going to announce the results
at a party
at a local club.
It was like Puebla's TSR.
It's like Puebla's TSR. That's where they're announcing the results. So Martha and I and Kat, we went there, and it was, we were waiting, it's getting late. They're not announcing the results. Martha's starting to get frustrated because she's getting bumped.
I'm an early bird, so I get tired early. So
she's like, she's
I get
getting
sleepy.
And, combine that all with people are bumping into her. I was trying because it was packed.
Yeah.
And, people, Martha's like, let's just get out of here. They'll probably announce the results whenever in back of everyone's head, we're like, we're probably not sure whether we even qualify. Martha's just trying to get out of there. And I'm like, no, we're staying. And Kat backed me up. She's like, we came here for this reason. We're not leaving. And she's like, Kat's like, you know what? Let's just everybody chill. Let's go get a drink. Mm-hmm. And we went to the bar, and they're like, all right, let's announce the results. In first place, desde Los Angeles, California, Irving y Marta. And I was like, who's from Los Angeles?
Yeah, we got stuck on Los Angeles. Like, we stopped listening after Los Angeles. We were like, oh, that's not us. Then it dawned on us, we were the only couple from the United States.
Well, they announced us, and then they're like waiting for somebody, and they're like, Irving y Marta. Like, Irving. I'm like, that's us. That's all. We won. First place.
Unless some other couple with our name from Los Angeles showed up, but we didn't see them, and they qualified. Like that's us. So it was exciting.
I like dragging Martha behind me, like just through the crowd. And we probably looked ridiculous, but to me, that's awesome. The qualifier, we won first place, and we got to advance straight to the finals because of that. We ended up placing third at that competition against some just incredibly talented dancers, and to me, that was just mind blowing because I never thought I would amount to anything in dance. So. I'll let you take it so I don't get emotional.
We could sit here and like talk your ears off about each specific competition because they were all just a one of a kind of experience, and each one was with different people, because the company kept growing and changing, and all of a sudden it was like 3 couples, 4 couples, 5 couples, 2 teams plus 3 couples, 3 teams plus a soloist plus. An amateur pro-am couple. It was like every year was a little different. It was awesome.
Yeah. So we competed that year. We got third place as a couple and third place as a team, and that kind of just set it off for me. I'm like, all right, we're capable. We can do this, and we just kept going.
Okay.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to wrap this up. I have 2 questions I want to ask you, and
I have one more question, Earl.
No. After I ask the 2, Tanya's on you. Whatever you want to do, we can wrap it up. Okay. My first question is: when you guys, this will be quick. When you won the world championship team, did you cry?
I didn't cry. I think because to me, I was just still in disbelief. I just couldn't believe it. It's been something that we've been working on for a long time at this point. And
I didn't cry when we won. Mm-hmm. I cried when I got to see the videos of Kat accepting the trophies.
Okay.
Because I had kind of a complicated work schedule, and so I didn't actually get to be there live. Like I think we flew out the day that those awards were being presented.
Okay.
So when I got to see, I can't remember who recorded, but someone recorded like a really up close video of Kat getting to go up and get it. That to me made me cry because there's something really special about watching your friends' artwork reach that kind of audience.
Yeah.
Yes, we danced. Yes, we worked really hard. But all of a sudden, this choreographer from this corner of DC that I always really admired, that I always, now you're making me emotional. This choreography I always enjoyed, but I knew was like, dang, like only DC is seeing this, That's not enough to see her on stage and then to see her choreographies win, because that's the thing too. Those competitions are not just, oh, those dancers were good. Those competitions take into account the artistry of the choreography.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, her choreography is getting the recognition that it deserved, the attention it deserved. that was probably what made me go, oh, heart, because it was finally happening, and it was a long time coming.
Well, I'm kind of like a soft kind of guy. I cried when I saw the results.
Oh,
I was happy for both of you, and I was happy for Kat. Okay.
yeah.
So the next question I want to ask before I turn it over to Tanya, and when Tanya's done, we're going to wrap this up. Who was the aggressive person between you two when you guys first met, and how did you meet? Who liked who first? Who made the first move?
Irving noticed me first. And I was kind of like, okay, he's cute, but
Just cute.
But I'd be lying if I didn't fall for the whole. Let me give you a little bit of a cold shoulder, and he wasn't even doing it intentionally. But I'll give you my best example for one of those competitions for one of the club restaurant ones. And he was like, do you want to be a partner? Let's prepare for it. Let's hang out. Let's practice for it. And I'm like, okay. At the end of one of those rehearsals, he's like, let me walk you to your car. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So where I say I wasn't the aggressor, but I was definitely more hopeful. Is he's walking in my car. I'm like, oh, okay. No one's around. We'll make you open the door. Maybe something will happen. I get in the car really slow. It was really nice to practice with you. I'm setting up the moment, and then he shut the door and was like, "You can practice. Bye." And then he just walked away, and I was like, "All right, that's cool. I'll try again next time."
All right. Okay, that's great.
I think I noticed her first when she walked in the room. I saw her. I was like, whoa. I'm like, who? She's gorgeous. And then the funny story is that I got to because she was new to the team. The coach wanted to do the experienced dancers did a run through of the routine we're working on to show it to her. And there was only limited seats in the studio, and I happened to have sat down in one of the seats, and she happened to stand behind me. Like, it's my moment. I'm gonna be a gentleman. I got up. I'm like, here's, do you want to take my seat? And she's like, yeah. Thank you.
But I'm paying attention to dance.
And in my head, I'm like, oh yes. I'm like, brownie points. I was a gentleman. I offered my seat. And then she the class ends and she leaves. And then she leaves, and I'm like, shh. I didn't ask her name. Fudge. I'm like, I have no idea who she is. I went to the coach. I was like, hey, what's that girl's name that just left? He's like, Martha. And he's like, well, what's her last name? I don't know. Do you know? Is she on Facebook? I don't know. Do you have her phone number? No. I'm like, well, if she never comes back, I'll never get to meet her again. Okay. And I think I was just so, I guess, just something to me just clicked with Martha. Just something was right about her, that I was crazy about her, the moment I saw her. And
whoa. Chemistry involved.
So much so that I was too terrified to really talk to her. So my coach told me, he's like, hey, you should ask Martha to compete with you in this competition. So I was like, all right, that's gonna be how I get to talk to her. And she says she doesn't want to compete with me. I'm like, oh yeah, no worries. My coach offered it. It was a stupid idea. He asked me to ask you, but if it works, then great. But the entire time that we were getting to know each other through practicing, she kept trying to hint at, trying to get me to make a move, and I was too terrified to do anything. So there's that story that she talks about where I just closed the door on her face because I was too terrified to do anything.
So Martha was the aggressor. So Martha actually is the aggressor.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, Tanya, ask your question.
Go ahead.
Ask your question so we can wrap it up.
Okay. It's interesting. I was going to ask a question that actually could piggyback off of what Earl just asked, but I think it would be too long. So I'm going to ask this question totally unrelated. My curiosity. So do you prefer Latino, Hispanic, or a Latinx?
It's a good question.
You go ahead. No.
Being honest, I agree with Latinx. In that
Why? I'm curious. Why?
because here is something I've been starting to learn about myself. I guess into the person that I'm growing into is that I've started. I think I came to terms with giving myself the title, I guess, of being a feminist. I started to realize I'm like everything that I stand for, everything that I do, everything I try to speak about. That's what a feminist is, and so I was like, okay, so I'm a feminist. That's who I am, and a lot of the old school Hispanic culture and even the language is very much machista, or I guess sex oriented, patriarchal. So the language is very much that, in that it's a lot of differentiating between his and her, and a lot more his, or a lot more titles, words being put with emphasis on his. So yeah, I agree with Latinx, and I think because of growing up calling myself Latino, it's just something that to me has to change. So I haven't gotten used to it. I guess that would be my answer.
I'm actually trying to unlearn my understanding of Latinidad right now. So if I may drop a plug, if anybody else wants to kind of unpack and dissect that, there's actually a dancer from San Francisco who I recently started following online. I think they do a really good job at kind of breaking it up and explaining why the terms Latino, Latina, Latinx are still not really an accurate representation of who Latinos are. It's very broad. It does nothing to explain the fact that there's Black Latinos, white Latinos, Asian Latinos, Indigenous Latinos, and it's a term that has to kind of be re-understood. So I'm probably not even explaining it very well, but I will say that this very talented dancer from the Bay Area, again, name's Addie, has an account online and spends a lot of time kind of dissecting that, because it's a little more complicated than I think I understood it as. I always thought
more complicated than we can explain.
Yeah. I always thought like Latinos was like this one big happy group, and I'm understanding now that the term itself is harmful in some contexts. So I would just direct people to that page, because I've learned a lot just listening.
And what was her name?
Addie.
Addie, yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to go a little bit more, but we don't have the time. But I was curious because I used to have conflicts about African American when that used to be put on Black people, and I was like, why do we need to do this? And so now I'm seeing this change with Latinos and how they self-identify, and I'm like, wow, this reminds me of the whole debate when African American kind of was being pushed as the thing. So we're not going to go into it. We're eating up time, but I'm going to check out that account. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Well, no, we don't want to get Martha going. She's a little fire plug.
I know. I wish I had more time because I want to get Martha going.
Well, I mean, how much time do you need?
No. She kind of, I do think it is more complicated. I've been talking to different people because I'm trying to understand it. And
okay.
But fine. They gave a great answer. It's fine.
Okay. Because we can get her going if you want to get her going. If that's what you want to do. This is your show as well, Tanya.
I mean, no, I think it is. I should have brought this up earlier, probably. Maybe another time we can bring them back and we can make it a political or something, or culture.
Yeah, because Martha, she's kind of outspoken on Facebook.
I know. That's why I wanted to ask this question, because I read her posts, and so I was like, I'm very curious, to get her perspective. But
I mean, I have a paid account. have a free account, so it's not like we only got 40 minutes. So if they're not ready to go, if you want to ask her something, go ahead. That's what we're here for.
No, I think it is more complicated. And if you want to add to it, Martha, that would be great. But if you don't, I do understand. I do think it's a complicated thing. I love Irvin's answer as well, because I was asking some other friends, they were like, oh, it's really just a male versus female article thing. Because I was like, why are they doing this? I was like, what is the X? What's going on? And it was explained to me. So I love Irving's answer. And Martha's answer, I think it's definitely going into a complexity that I am more interested in, but it might take a long time. And so yeah.
Do a separate.
Yeah, I think it's a separate. Maybe we'll do something special political, and we'll bring different people on, and I'll revisit this with Martha.
Beautiful, beautiful. Sounds good. Remember, this is your show as well, and you can ask anything you want to ask. And like I said, I don't have a free account because I have talked to some people for an hour and a half, which I think is kind of long. But we got the time, so don't feel like I'm hindering you. That's all I'm.
I want to. I understand, but no, it's all good. I'm gonna think of a way that me and Martha maybe we can have this conversation publicly.
Okay.
Again,
all right.
With you as well, so that we can, because you and I can bring up the African American part. I'd love to hear your point of view about that.
I don't think you do, because we don't have enough time for that. I'm not the one you want to get started. But anyway, Tanya, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out, because I know you have several things on your plate.
Oh, I'm honored. I suggested them to you, Earl, so I wanted to do this with them. So.
You did. And Martha and Irving, thank you so much. You guys are fabulous dancers. And also, I just wanted to say, I love the way you both dress. You both were very sharp dressers as well.
Thank you.
I was looking at Irving, some pictures of Irving when I was doing my little video, and I said, well, that boy is sharp, but when you got a beautiful lady on your side, you're going to feel good about yourself, so you might as well dress up. So I think I can relate to that. So, guys,
it was
thank
a
you
pleasure
so much.
talking to you both.
Yeah, you guys are one of my favorite couples, actually, sincerely, not because you're on here, but I feel good around you guys. I think you're for real people. You're very talented. Thank you so much for taking the time out. We're going to wrap this up, but I appreciate you guys for coming in.
Thank you so much for having us.
It was wonderful. All
right, Tanya. See you later.
Bye.